Hey guys, welcome back to Magic TV. My name's Craig. It's 12 o'clock on a Sunday and it's time for a Q&A. Now, this is where I take all the questions that you've asked over the course of the week and I try to answer them to the best of my ability. Now, thank you once again for tuning into a Q&A. I really appreciate it. These are rapidly becoming the most popular videos of the week here on Magic TV. Two things, if you've never seen a Q&A before. First of all, please remember that I don't look at these questions beforehand. I literally am spontaneous with it. So I open it up, I look at it, and you're getting my kind of raw, unfiltered opinions on this stuff. If I think that there's a question that deserves a longer video, I will put a longer video together at some point in the future. The other thing is I film these normally on a Tuesday or a Wednesday. If you want to guarantee to get your question asked, please ask it by a Tuesday or a Wednesday. If I miss your question, I apologise. I will get back to it the following week, I promise. Just ask it again down below. Sometimes I do miss them. There's more questions coming every week than ever before. With that being said, once again, I always say this at the end of the week. Thank you for your continued support. The only reason I continue to do this is because you guys continue to watch it. And as long as you do, I'll continue to make the videos. So anyway, without further ado, there's a bunch of stuff to get through. So I'm going to start off with this week's Q&A. So the first question that we've got is from Stephen Peters. And Stephen says, have you ever performed at the Magic Castle? And the short answer is no, I have never performed at the Magic Castle. It's on my bucket list. It's on my to-do list. I'd love to perform at the Magic Castle. I really would. It's something that I've been wanting to do for a very long time, but I've never had the opportunity. So if somebody's listening and they've got anything to do with the Magic Castle and you want a magician from the UK to come over and do it, I would absolutely love to perform at the Magic Castle. I really would. So yes, never performed there. I would love to. And hopefully one day it'll happen. So the next question is Tom, and Tom says, Craig, you've mentioned Peter Turner's routine for putting a deck in stack on the Stackwatch project with Illusionist. I don't want the Stackwatch and they won't sell me the tutorial on its own, so I'm wondering if you know another source for this routine or another routine which achieves the same thing. In terms of another source for this routine, I don't think so. I don't know. The best person to speak to is Pete Turner. He's got a lot of material in a lot of different places. So he might have something, he might not. I don't know. It's best to check with Pete on that one. I just don't know. I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry about that. Peter's got so much material, but I do know a lot of the stuff that he knew about Memdex went on the Stackwatch project. So I would guess no, but I don't know. Routines that achieve the same thing. So there's a couple in the Buena Vista Shuffle Club by Matt Baker. He had a routine that took a deck of cards and put it into stack during the course of the routine, which is a really nice way of doing it. And also Patrick Redford put out a downloady type thing, which was a routine that put a deck back into stack. And it was very, very clever, but it was a much longer routine. It took about 10 minutes to do the routine. There was a lot of really nice magical moments in there. And during the course of that routine, the deck got put into stack. I imagine if you go on Patrick's website and you have a look at all of his stuff, you'll see it on there. I can't remember what it was, but me and Ryland did review it probably about a year ago now. It came out about a year ago. Outside of that, I have been, based on Pete's routine, but also something different, I have been playing around with my own way of getting a regular deck into stack. And I'm almost there. I've kind of got it, I think. I've kind of got it. It's different to Pete's, but it was using Pete's as a starting point. I'm about a month away from being in a situation where I feel comfortable sharing it because I'm just testing it at the moment. And there's been some hiccups, so I'm having to kind of go back and... But anyway, what I'll do is when I've got that, I'm going to put a Memdeck special on the Netrix one week. I'm just going to upload a ton of stuff on the Memdeck. So look out for that because that will be getting uploaded at some point in probably the next month to 6 weeks. But that is going to be my work on getting into this position. In terms of Pete's work, the best thing to do would be to contact Pete either on Messenger or email him. Okay, so the next question is Jonah Berg, and Jonah says, what's your favourite mentalism principle? I mean, that's crazy, right? There's a ton of principles in mentalism, but I'd say one of my favourites is the one-ahead system. The one-ahead principle. I use the one-ahead principle a lot. If you're on the Netrix, you'll know there's a routine or two on there using the one-ahead principle. And I think it's capable of so much. I think that when you work one ahead, it's wonderful. It really is. There's so much that you can do. And on that, I'd also say Yeah, I'd say like a sneak thief or a magician's graphology style presentation. You know, that whole idea of, you know, we spoke about this, I think, a week or two ago on the channel, but that whole idea of people making drawings and you being able to work out which drawing people made just by looking at it, using that sort of sneak thief style principle. I think that's a really underutilized principle as well that's capable of a lot more. So if I had to nail it down, I'd probably say the sneak thief style principle or maybe the one ahead principle. Okay, so this is another one from Jonah Berg, and Jonah says, where can I learn a really cool finale to finish an ambitious card routine? Well, I mean, there's a ton of really cool finales for an ambitious card routine, but the question is, where do you want to go with it? How do you want... I tend to find that there's 3 specific finales to the ambitious card, and it depends on how pure you want to get to the effect. Now, what I mean by that is the ambitious card is the card comes to the top of the deck over and over and over again. That's what the ambitious card is, right? So the first way of actually ending an ambitious card is having the card come to the top of the deck one final time, but in a really impossible way. So the cards kept coming to the top of the deck, and then the final time it comes to the top of the deck again, but in a way that's even more insane than any other version that they've had before that. So it builds to a finale. A couple of different examples of that you could look into if you haven't already seen it is that old bit that David Bain popularized, where you take the card and you bend it so they can see the bend, and you slip that card into the middle of the deck so they can see the bend in the middle, and you hold it so the sides of the deck are towards the audience, and then boop, you see it pop up on top of the deck. That's an example of elevating the final phase. So when it happens one last time, it's more impressive. Another example is Daryl's Ultimate Ambition. So with Daryl's Ultimate Ambition, you hand the card out and you have people, you've been using a signed card throughout, but you hand the card out and you get them to sign the front of the card, you get them to sign the back of the card, you got lots of people signing cards. While they're doing that, you wrap the deck up with a rope. So you've got a rope wrapped around the deck so there's no way you can cheat. And they put the card into the middle of the deck. They see it going into the middle. And then what happens is you just wait a second. And now when you lift up the top card of the deck, they see it's the signature on there, and you pull it out, and now the card's on top of the deck. That's Ultimate Ambition. That's a great way of doing it because it's coming to the top of the deck again, but you're doing it under test conditions. Now, an extension of that, and I don't know if these are still available, you'll have to check with Alakazam, is Mark Elsden had a version of Daryl's Ultimate Ambition that took place in a card box, which interestingly was the starting off point for the extractor deck. But you had this ambitious card that took place inside a card box, and that was a really nice way of doing it as well, because you put the cards inside the box, so there's no way it could come to the top. They put the card into the middle, they see it going into the middle, and then when you open up the card box again, they take the top card out, and it's their card. So that's an ambitious card finale by Mark Elsden and Alakazam, and that came out a few years ago. I don't know if it's still available. I'll check with Alakazam because they've got the rights to that. So that's the first way of finishing an ambitious card, having it come to the top of the deck in a more impossible way. The second way would be to have something happen to the deck of cards. So, for example, a very popular way of doing this is what really Martin Sanderson pioneered back in the day, and that's Omnideck, where the entire deck turns crystal clear. Now, everybody and their mother does Omnideck now, and there's been so many new and different ways of doing it, but the concept of that card coming to the top of the deck is, sorry, not the card coming, the idea of the deck turning completely crystal clear. I think it was Martin Sanderson that really applied Omnideck to an ambitious card routine in Corporate Close-Up Volume 1. Before then, it was handled in a very different way. But that's a great finale because, you know, the card keeps coming to the top of the deck, and then eventually the deck becomes see-through. Other examples of that are the Phantom deck, where the deck becomes see-through, but every single card is see-through. Mark James had a really nice version years ago where the cards turned into smaller blocks of cards. So the entire deck turned into like 6 or 7 blocks. I'm sure there was a version of the same sort of thing with mirrors. I think that was Joel Given, but I might be wrong. The deck vanishing is another example of that. Prop Dog do this thing where it's kind of like a tech deck. So the card keeps coming to the top of the deck, and as a finale, you say it's all done with electronics, and then you open up, and inside the deck is a bunch of electronics and circuit boards. That's a really great way. Any way where the deck ends up changing at the end of an ambitious card is a second way that you can do that finale. And there's a few examples of that. And then the other way is where you kind of just do an impossible location type trick, where the card keeps coming to the top of the deck and eventually it goes somewhere else. So card to phone is a great example, where the card ends up folded up inside the phone. Any sort of mystery box, whether it be a clear mystery box, or whether it be a John Kennedy style mystery box, or whether it be a Tommy Wonder style ring box, or a destination box by John Allen, anywhere where the card ends up in an impossible location, that's a perfect example of how you can actually have something disappear and appear somewhere else. So those are the different ways that you can end an ambitious card routine, right? And all of them are great. All of them work. All of them work really, really well. It just depends on which way that you want to go with it. But there's a few sources for you, so hopefully that'll go some way towards answering your question. Okay, so the next idea is from Mac Keep. And Mac says, in I think the last Q&A before this one, someone sent you their idea for a set list and you gave advice. I think this would be a great new series. What do you think? People can submit their set lists and get your views and advice, which would be great. I think that's an amazing idea. I'd love to do that. If anybody would like to have a video done by me where I look at their set list and I break down what I think works and what I would do differently, then just send it, mark it as set list and then your name, and send it to 2 email addresses, because sometimes I miss my emails. So send it to me directly, which is craig@magictv.org. That's craig@magictv.org, O-R-G. And also send it to admin, that's A-D-M-I-N, admin@thenetrix.com. So admin@thenetrix.com. Those 2 email addresses. Send it to them and I will do a video. As soon as people start sending me set lists, I'll start doing videos on it. I think it's a really good idea. Okay, so the next question is from Just Josh, and Just Josh says, "Hi Craig." Hey Josh. Quick question for you. Assuming they already have a website, when someone decides that they want to start performing magic for money, what's the first thing they should do in order to try and generate leads for gigs? Do you just go out to the mall and start handing out business cards, or cold calling businesses and restaurants? What do you actually do to start marketing yourself as a working magician? So you say that you've got a website, but I think the first thing that you need to do is you need to try and make sure that that website is good, because one thing that you need to think about is your digital footprint. And what I mean by digital footprint is what people see when they search for you. Now, what I mean by that is if you're going to start generating leads, a lot of the leads that you're generating, they might be shopping around. They're not just specifically requesting you. Now, that can happen, especially as you start running a business. But at least initially, there's going to be people that are just like inquiring around and they're looking for prices. Now, think about this for a minute. If you have 2 or 3 magicians and all 3 of you have a website, but one of them's a website with not really any photos on it and there's no video, and then they check out the social media and there's nothing on social media, and then there's a blog, but they wrote one blog 6 months ago and that's it, and then they look for reviews online and there's no reviews, and then the other person's website has a couple of photos and maybe a very short video and a couple of videos on social media and maybe 2 or 3 reviews, and then the other person has just like videos everywhere, loads of pictures of people looking shocked. They have really active social media. They have really active blogs. You know, they have tons of reviews online. Which company do you think they're going to go for? Which person do you reckon they're going to book? Well, obviously, there's going to be certain other factors such as price, but don't kid yourself into thinking that people aren't going to look around. They are. And the more desirable you can make yourself online, the better. Absolutely 100%. So it's nice having a website, but make sure that your digital footprint is on point. Now, when you're talking about generating leads and getting leads in, you know, at least initially, I wouldn't try and think about actually paid advertising, you know, because you can spend a fortune in paid advertising. You spend a fortune in PPC and Google Ads and Facebook advertising and stuff like that. I'd just try and look into so many different ways that you can do it for free or with minimal cost. So I wouldn't bother handing out business cards to moles or something like that, because, you know, it's very unlikely that they're going to book you. You know, you want to be giving business cards out to people that eventually might book you. Imagine if you were just walking through a mall and somebody said, "Hey, I'm a magician, take a business card." They'll probably just chuck it in the bin, right? It's not really going to do that much good. So you have to ask yourself a question: what are you going to do to generate leads? Well, the first thing is I would consider going networking and do networking. Excuse me, you can go to business networking events. They run all over the world. There's free networking events and there's ones that you have to pay for. There's even online business networking events where you meet other business owners and you build up relationships. And then what will happen is they will go and look for businesses for you and you will go and look for referrals for them, and it can generate a lot of work. When I first started in business, I did a lot of networking. I was networking probably 3 mornings a week, and at least initially, a lot of the work that I got was from networking. So networking is a fantastic way to generate leads and generate income. So networking is a good way to go. It also builds up your profile and it gets more people to know who you are. There's a lot of big advantages of networking. Cold calling is absolutely fantastic, but you want to make sure you do it the right way. I wouldn't necessarily do cold calling in a business per se, because you're just not going to get anywhere. But restaurants, absolutely 100%. It's too long a video to talk about restaurants right now, but I did a big video on the Netrix, and it was how to get restaurant work, how to get restaurant residencies, and I was probably a couple of hours of video talking about how to get restaurant work. But the whole idea is basically, very succinctly, build up a list of restaurants in your area, but it's really important that you go after the right businesses, the right restaurants. What type of performer are you? Are you a family entertainer? Are you a kids entertainer? Are you a serious close-up magician? Because that will dictate the type of restaurants that you go to. You also want to look at everything from a geographical point of view, which competition they've got in the area. There's a ton of factors that you need to take into consideration. And the whole idea is that you want to find out who those businesses are, then you want to ring them up. Don't try and pitch them over the phone. Your goal should be to just come in and have a chat with them. Go in, have a chat, show them some magic, tell them what you can do, and arrange a trial night where you go in and you try it out, and you let them see the impact that you have. And off the back of that, you can pitch a residency. That's how I've always done it, and it's always worked really well for me. That's breaking it down very, very briefly. But yeah, for sure, cold calling restaurants is great. That works really well, but there's a process that you need to follow through with. Outside of that, just LinkedIn is a great way to generate leads. You know, if you're on LinkedIn, that's a great way to generate leads. I kind of think of LinkedIn as virtual networking. So it's a great way to connect with business owners in your local area virtually. And it's a great way to generate leads as well. So absolutely, LinkedIn is one that you should do. And then something that works really well for me is setting up Google Alerts. Now, what is a Google Alert? A Google Alert, basically, you can set it up online, and what it does is it tells Google to alert you whenever new posts or new websites or new pages on websites go up using particular search terms. So it might be, you know, corporate event, or it might be trade show, whatever it is, the type of magic that you want to get. And you can localize it to geographical areas as well. So you set up these Google Alerts, and then once they're set up, every day you'll get emailed, and you'll get tons of emails come through. And a lot of them are rubbish, a lot of them aren't needed, to be perfectly honest, but you'll find a few that are absolutely golden, because it will link you through to a company that's planning a black tie event, for example, and there'll be a person's name on there who actually is organizing the thing. And then what you can do is you can find them on LinkedIn, and you can do a connection request on LinkedIn, and then you can go in through LinkedIn, build up a relationship with them, and then pitch them on having you at their event. There's a million different ways of generating leads for free. This isn't, I'll probably do a video on this at some point. I'm very reluctant to do videos on marketing on this channel, because I tend to find that people don't care about it. I used to have Marketing Monday when I first started the channel, and nobody watched it. Nobody cared about the marketing. So now I just stick it all on the silver level of the Netrix anytime I have stuff to talk about with regards to business. But yeah, but really it's just hard work going out there, and you can make it happen. Okay, so the next question is from Michael Warsham, and Michael said, needs a chapter list with specific times that you usually include for a video of a Q&A. It's really important because not everything is interesting to me. Yeah, I completely agree. I didn't realise we hadn't done that. I'm so sorry, Michael. Normally that's done. I'll make sure that the team do it in the future. I do agree with you. I don't edit the videos or upload them, so I'll check on that. It's probably that they had a very busy day last week. We're trying to get magictv.org online, the online shop, so I think that's probably something to do with it, but I'll check into it and make sure it gets done for you. Okay, so the next question is Steve Legg, and Steve says, what's the best card index? I thought I heard of a new one coming out imminently. I need one index that fits all 52 cards in one pocket for a memorized deck type routine. Thanks. Okay, so yeah, I mean, great question. 52 cards. Okay, so obviously you've got, is it the Advocate? I feel it's like, yeah. Daniel Madison's card index is really the go-to one that a lot of people use. It's a really great one. Works really well. I've never got on well with it. I always really struggled with it. I know my friend Nemid Phoenix used to use it and used to have no problem with it, but I always had an issue, especially if I was wearing like jeans or something. So, but there's that. A lot of people rave about that. The Cheetah came out recently. Now, the problem with the Cheetah is it's a 2-pocket index. So you have one in each pocket. So it takes up 2 pockets. That's not really what you're looking for. In all honesty with you, the one that I'd wait for is Decks by Javier Fuenmayor and Lloyd Barnes. It's coming out through Murphy's Magic soon. If you look at the original Quantum Deck video that I did when I bought out the Quantum Deck about a year and a bit ago now, I actually included handling using decks. I've had one for a long time. And it's great, and it's improved since then as well. It's even better. I know Lloyd was showing it around to a lot of people at Blackpool Convention, for example. The reason it's took so long is because they're getting built in China, I believe, and it got delayed because of COVID, and then because of lockdowns in China, and then I think it got delayed because of Chinese New Year. But I don't know. It's best to speak to Lloyd about this. But as far as I'm aware, it's a priority for Murphy's to bring it out, and I think it's going to be coming out in the next few months or the next couple of months or imminently. That really is the best pocket index. It's a single pocket index. You can go into it and you can pull a card out in like 2 or 3 seconds, maybe even less than that, like a second, 2 seconds, and it fits brilliantly even in tight jeans. So yeah, it's called Dex, D-E-X, and Lloyd put a video up on his channel a little while ago, which was all about decks. It was all about, he was just getting seriously randomly named cards and he was just pulling them out, and just to show how fast it was. So you could probably look that up. It was about 3 months ago I posted that video. But yeah, it's that's what I'd go for if I were you. I would go for decks. It's going to be a bit of a wait, but it's probably the best one that I know. Okay, so the next question is Scotland's Magic Sensation. Scotland's Magic Sensation. How you doing, buddy? Hope you are. Hi, mate. First of all, I used your coin card transfer with the Quiver wallet, which you showed at Blackpool 2022 and on this channel at today's gig several times. Amazing. Thanks, buddy. I'm really glad you like that. I'm really happy with that routine. My question is, are there any pieces of magic you wouldn't let your kids do or possibly even see? Maybe they're outdated or just plain crude. Cheers. I've kind of steered Ryland away from anything to do with sex. I don't think at his age he needs to worry about anything like that. So, you know, anything like the stuff that Saturn Magic were bringing out with the cock and, you know, the sponge ding dong and, you know, Prop Dog when they brought out the nun that when you kiss it, it's a cock, all of that sort of stuff. I've kept him away from that on purpose. I just think that that's kind of inappropriate, really for most gigs, to be honest. Outside of that, he really wants to learn fire eating after watching Mark James, but he's not allowed to do that. I'm not going to let him do fire eating. In fact, we keep him away from anything to do with fire, including flash paper. And we don't really, he doesn't really, I'd never have him do a smash and stab or something like that. I'd never have him do that until he's a lot older. Even if it was 100% safe method, I still wouldn't want him to do a smash and stab ever. We tend to keep him away from anything that involves sharp objects, to be perfectly honest. Although he is currently learning a card sword routine, although it is a very blunt card sword, so I think we're okay. But yeah, I mean, that's it really. Just, you know, that's Really, the only thing I've really kept him away from, as in I haven't even let him see it, is anything to do with sexuality and stuff like that. That's just something I don't want him to get involved in. But beyond that, not really. You know, he's into a lot of the. I don't think there's anything that's outdated. No, there probably is, but a lot of the stuff that's outdated is actually really good if you kind of take a step back and look at it. And if you look at a lot of the stuff that Ryland does, it's the classics. He does multiplying balls. He does dancing cane. He does cups and balls. You know, egg bag, miser's dream. He does a lot of. It is a lot of stuff like that, you know, a lot of the classics of magic. So, you know, it was important for me to get him to learn that sort of stuff. Okay, so the next question is from Curtis Waynes, and Curtis says, "Hey Craig, I'd like to learn how to do Out of This World, a full, not partial deck method. What are a few good options of sources?" So what are a few good sources? Right, okay, so first of all, you've got the original Out of This World. Paul Curry's Out of This World, but I like the Michael Amar version, which came out in the Easy to Master Card Magic series. The Michael Amar version, for my money, was really one of the best versions of a full deck Oil and Water. That's Oil and Water, sorry, Out of This World, I'm going mad. That's really great, and I love that when Michael did it, and I always do this as well, he had one go wrong, and he put a prediction at the beginning going, one will be wrong, I will get one wrong, and then you know, there was one that was wrong, and he's predicted that even one would be wrong, which is really cool. So that's a really great version. Out of This Out of This Galaxy by Paul Harris is a really good one. You can find that in the Art of Astonishment books. That's really good. It's not a full deck. It's a partial deck. But Eric Tate's Out of This World is fantastic. I reviewed that recently. You can get it as a download from Penguin. Pete Turner's Out of This World that he was showing around at Blackpool, again, uses half a deck. But there's no reason you couldn't use a full deck for it. That's actually a really good version of Out of This World as well. So those are some of my favourites. Trying to think of any others. I remember reading one a little while ago called Out of This Dirty Library Book, which I can't remember. It was years ago. It was about 15 years ago, and I remember really liking this. But I can't remember anything about it. I just remember the title. I remember performing it for years, but I just can't remember what it is now. I'm getting old. But I do remember the name, Out of This Dirty Library Book. If anybody knows Out of This Dirty Library Book, maybe I'm making it up, but if anybody knows Out of This Dirty Library Book, please let me know. Like, we're going back about 25 years now. I just can't remember it, but I remember at the time liking it and performing it a lot. But yeah, I mean, if I were you, I'd go for a partial stack. It makes it a lot quicker. But if you're going to go for any Oil and Water that you want to do a full deck, I'd start with the Michael Amar version, or the version Michael Amar performed on, you know, the Easy to Master Card Magic series. So the next question is from Justin Hutchins. Hey, Justin. And he says, "Hi, Craig. What are your thoughts on the pom-pom prayer stick? Have you ever performed it? I know the secret to it now, but it's always baffled me for years. I've just ordered a brass mini version, which looks great. Maybe you could review it at some point." Yeah, I love the pom-pom prayer stick. I do it in kid shows. I think it's really a kid show trick. And I've performed it a few different ways. It's a Christmas trick as well. I do it in Christmas shows for kids. And I've got this really great presentation at Christmas where you talk about Santa. And you as a kid, you always used to stay awake to see Santa. And one day on Christmas Eve, you caught Santa. And he said, "Oh, you've caught me. I'm not going to get any presents now." And I was like, "Oh, that's not fair. I want presents." And he said, "Well, I'll tell you what. I'll play a little game with you, and if you win the game, then I'll leave presents." And you know, the whole idea of the pom-pom prayer stick is you bring it out and you say, so if you pull this one goes up, and if you pull this one goes up. So here's the question: what happens if you pull this one? And I said the answer that this one would go up, and Santa said, "No, it's not. It's that one goes up." And I was like, "Hang on a minute, how can that one go up?" Christmas magic. So it's kind of like a story-based presentation for the pom-pom prayer stick. Which is great, but you know, just the normal presentation, just that whole confused thing of, guys, I'm going to show you something really weird here and I don't understand it. Can you explain it to me, because I really don't get it? You see, if I pull this one goes up. If I pull this one goes. Really, really fun. And John Kimmo has got a really great subtlety on the pom-pom prayer stick that he shared in the Tricks in the Sticks magic convention Facebook group a little while ago. that really kind of makes it. Now, as well as that, I have got and have done for years Plumber's Mate by David Regal, which is a pom-pom prayer stick, but it looks like something that you would get in a plumbing scrapyard. So it's like a plug on a chain and, you know, stuff like that. And it's a pipe that has the whole thing. But it's basically the same thing. And that's a great prop to use if you want to do pom-pom prayer stick for more of an adult audience, a corporate audience, or, you know, a family audience. Because I think the original pom-pom prayer stick is very kiddie. It wouldn't fit my persona in a stage show for like a corporate audience, for example, but this Plumber's Mate does. It's really good. Now, the brass version I've got, and that's really cool. And then Leo Smesters, and we reviewed this recently, bought out a version that looks like the sort of thing that you would get in a stationery shop. So it's a pen. And then there's like things like erasers on pieces of string hanging off it and little rubbers hanging on pieces of string. And it's the same thing. And that's great for close-up. It really is. And it works exactly the same way. So to answer your question, yes, I do the pom-pom prayer stick. Yes, I love it. Maybe I'll do it on Hidden Gems at some point in the future because it is a great hidden gem. But yeah, pom-pom prayer stick is fantastic. So the next question is from Eamon Doohan. And Eamon says, "Hi Craig, I've become a big fan of yourself and your channel. Thank you very much. Your honesty is great. My question is, do you recommend the New York Coin Magic seminar videos? I've become a fan of Coin Magic over the years. Rock on. It's mostly close-up magic and card effects I like, but I've always been a fan of David Roth. I have his Expert Coin Magic book. Also, Jeff Latter got his book too, and Michael Rubenstein's, all great. I bought volume 1 of the New York Coin Magic seminar and thought it was great. I'm thinking about getting the rest of the collection. Do you recommend them? Your coin stuff is great too. Love your handlings on classic coin effects. Thanks for the advice." So first of all, Eamon, you're more than welcome. Thank you very much. And yes, I would highly recommend the New York Coin Magic seminar. I bought them when they first came out. So I bought them initially years ago, you know, when the next one came out, the next set came out, the next set came out. I bought them all kind of over the couple of years that they came out, or the 2 or 3 years that they came out. I think that it's one of the best DVD series for people that have already got a start in coin magic, like yourself. I say to people that are brand new to coin magic, it's best to get something like Metal by Eric Jones, an illusionist. But if you've been doing coin magic for a little while, I mean, David Roth, Jeff Latter, Mike Gallo, Michael Rubenstein, they're like legends, right? They are absolute legends. So why would you not, you know, want to listen to them? So yeah, if you're into coin magic, I'd say it's one of the best purchases that you can make. And they're also relatively cheap now because they've been out a while and not as many people use DVDs. So yes, 100%. Pick yourself up a set. You definitely won't be disappointed. There's some really cool material on them. And if you bought volume 1 and you like volume 1, well, the rest of them are more of the same. Okay, so the next question is the Magic and Mentalism Library. And he says, or she says, "Hi Craig, how do you feel about swearing in performance? I found a good use for it when performing the Magician in Trouble plot when I perform at Mentalism because it creates a contrast for the rest of the show. How do you feel about swearing in shows?" I think it very much depends on the show. So kid shows, no. Family shows, no. Holiday parks, no. Weddings, no. But there's a lot of gigs that I go to. I go to a lot of corporate events. I go to a lot of military bases. I go to a lot of Christmas parties where people are drunk and they're effing and blinding themselves. And I think that swearing, not overly constantly, but throwing in swearing at various different points in the performance really does kind of almost like lend credibility. Now, I'm sure that people are going to disagree with me, and that's absolutely fine. But I remember going to a corporate event once, and he introduced us and said, "Hey, well, the first act was pretty shit. I'm pretty sure that this act is going to be shit as well because the magicians. Let's get this over with." And he was really disappointed because the first act was terrible, and he compared us on like that. And I came out to absolute silence. And just complete and total silence. And I was just like, okay, this is going to go very badly very quickly. And I just looked at him, and he was like the MD of the company, and I just looked at him and I went, "Well, you're a complete and total fucking wanker, aren't you?" And just immediately, the entire audience just released and laughed their ass off. And it won them all over in a split second. And But it's about knowing the right time to right place to do that. Would I advocate going to a gig and saying somebody's a wanker, especially the client? No. But I knew that I had to do something in order to get them on side, else it would have been very, very difficult. And that's one of the reasons why I don't like to script myself. And instead, I like to have talking points and things that I want to hit. And I know I need to hit them, but the rest of the time, I'm going to be kind of more loose with my presentation because it allows me to adapt to the situation that I'm in. And in certain situations, especially in military bases and places like that, you need to be able to riff off people. You need to be able to deal with hecklers. You need to be able to do that sort of stuff. And, I do this trick, and I'm sure you've all seen it, where you throw something over your head. The spectator throws some cards over the head, and you're blindfolded, and you don't realise they've thrown them. And, it's a funny moment anyway, but when you take that mask off, if you look down and you go, well, shit, that just sells it a lot more than if you didn't do something like that. So yeah, I think right time, right place, but it's about knowing which audiences and which gigs that you can do that and which ones you can't do that. And that comes with experience. So the next question is from Brewox Time. And Brewox Time says, hi Craig, I find that you are a coin guy, correct? And perform a lot of coin things. Yes. I was curious, do you perform a hopping halves style routine? If you do, is there any recommendations for a good premise routine about it? Thanks in advance. Yeah, I do a couple of different hopping halves routines. The first one is on the Mirage coin set. So on the Mirage coin set, I do a hopping halves routine with the Mirage coin set, which is a really fun routine to do. Then I do the classic Mirage coin set routine, otherwise known as Confusion Coins. Sorry, the classic hopping halves routine, otherwise known as Confusing Coins. And I also do James Brown's trick, the penny trick, or fancy a pot of jam, whatever you want to call it, which is a version of hopping halves, but it doesn't use any shells. It doesn't use. It uses a gimmick. There's a gimmick coin involved, but it's a very simple gimmick to make. A very, very simple gimmick to make, and you can literally do it on the fly. But it is a gimmick. But it's not like a shell or anything like that. It's very low tech. But those are the three that I do. Presentationally, I tend to go one of two ways. The first way is just very kind of con man style thing, a little bit. Think Greg Wilson, like, hey, I'm going to show you a trick with 2 coins. Okay, there's a copper coin, there's a silver coin. It's called a 2-coin trick. You just got to follow which coin's which and where it is. Okay, can you do that for me? So if I take the silver coin and I put it in my pocket, what does that leave in the hand? You say the copper coin, so you missed the switch. Okay, there's a switch. You see, I put the silver coin back in when you weren't looking. Did you miss that? I'll make it a little bit easier. Look, I'll take the copper coin. I'll put the copper coin in my pocket. What's over here? No, you missed the switch again. Kind of that kind of almost like con man style presentation. And the other way that I've done it, and I do sometimes, which works really well, is I kind of take a 5-card repeat style presentation and apply it to the hopping halves. And that's when I want to kind of have a more longer presentation where people are paying more attention. And it kind of goes along the lines of, you know what? A lot of people ask me how I learned magic. Well, it's very simple, actually. It was when I was watching TV when I was a kid, and I saw this magician with 2 coins. And what he did is he showed the 2 coins on his hand, and he reached in and took out the silver coin. And I saw him take that silver coin. He put it in his pocket, and I know that silver coin went in his pocket because I saw it. And then all he did is he waved his hand over, and then boom, in his hand, the silver coin was back again. And I was amazed, and I wanted to learn that trick. So I went to my local magic shop. There's a magic shops. How cool is that? And I went in there and I said, have you got the trick that the magician did on TV the other day? And the guy behind the counter said, which one? And I said, well, it's the one with the 2 coins. And he went rummaging around in the back, and he came back and he said, what, this one where you've got 2 coins and you put the 2 coins on your hand, you take one out, you put it in your pocket, you squeeze, you wave your hand over and the coin comes back? I went, yes, that's the one. I want to buy that. And he sold it me, and it was 100 quid. Welcome to being a magician. But I took it home and I practiced and I practiced and I practiced until I could take 2 coins, show them. I could reach in, take one of the coins, put one of the coins in my pocket. I could squeeze my hand, I could wave my hand over, and the 2 coins had come back. And I've practiced it to a point that I can do it for you right here, live today. So guys, here it is, the 2-coin trick. You see the 2 coins? Watch carefully. If I take one of those coins, just one, and put it into my pocket, and I squeeze and I wave my hand over, what's in my hand? Oh, you think 2 coins? You know what? If you're going to watch that carefully, we'll do a card trick instead. And it's that kind of presentation. So I've borrowed very heavily from the 5-card repeat and just applied it to hopping halves, which works really well. So, yeah, hopefully that answers your questions on hopping halves. Okay, so the next question is from MS Crim, and he just says very simply, iForce works with the current iOS. Of course, on last week's Q&A, somebody asked the question, does iForce work with the current iOS? And I said, I think so, but it's best to ask Greg. Apparently, according to MS Crib, it does. So there you go. Thanks, buddy. I really appreciate that. So there's the answer to the question from last week clarified. Okay, so the next question is again from MS Crib. And MS Crib says, hi, Craig. Question, do you have any recommendations for DIY impression pads? And you know what's interesting? The Magic and Mentalism Library has answered this question for me and given the answer that I would have said. And he said, check out Mark Spellman's At the Table live lecture. He teaches a very good impression pad that you can make at home. I completely agree with you. You should pick it up. It's a really good At the Table lecture as well. So yeah, there's the answer. Go and check out Mark Spellman's At the Table lecture. Just go onto any... go anywhere. Just go onto any magic shop and type in At the Table, Mark Spellman, and it'll come up. Okay, so the next question is from Chris Ash, and Chris says, great Q&A as always. A few questions from me this week. How often do you find yourself needing to use gender-inclusive, gender-neutral language rather than traditional, typical binary language? Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, etc. You know what? Maybe I should think about this a lot more. But I've not really changed what I'm doing. I've always called everyone in the audience guys. That's just something I've done. Hey guys, welcome to the show. My name's Craig. I don't really do the ladies and gentlemen thing anyway. Rarely. I think I do sometimes, but not very often. Really, it's like, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, actually, maybe I do at the beginning. So I was going straight into it there and I say, good ladies and gentlemen. Maybe I do. I don't know. But I don't feel like I say ladies and gentlemen. I feel like I say guys more, but I've not really ever thought about changing that. And, no one's ever pulled me up on it, but maybe I'm just a dinosaur. And in terms of boys and girls, I when I'm doing a kids' party, again, I try to veer away from boys and girls anyway in terms of what I'm calling them. I tend to find that's a little bit patronizing. Hello, boys and girls, and welcome to the show. It's kind of like, hey guys, welcome to the show. My name's Craig. I am the magician, and I'm going to do some magic for you. Who's excited? So I tend not to go down the boys and girls route anyway with that. To be honest, it's something I've not really given much thought for. Obviously, it's important to adapt what you do, but at the moment, I haven't actually done anything with regards to that. So I haven't really got more of an answer for that, I'm afraid, Chris. I'm very sorry. Okay, so the next question is from Chris Ash, and Chris says, public image and how clothing and costuming identify. For example, at Blackpool, when you were Craig Petty, the family man, you were often wearing a T-shirt. However, when you're an active professional Craig Petty, face of Magic TV, the Magic Podcast, or Craig Petty Magic Creator, then you added or put on an open plaid flannel shirt over the T-shirt. Is having this level of distinction important in personal and professional identity? And if so, how do you develop these characteristics? I don't really know. The whole check shirt thing, I've got a ton of check shirts. That has become an image thing with me as a creator, or as me on Magic TV, just because I like wearing these sort of shirts. I always have. If you look back on the Wizard product review from like 12, 13, 14 years ago, you'll see I had hair, I was thinner, but you see that I was wearing a T-shirt and I had a check shirt over it. That's just something that I've liked wearing always. And I wear check shirts a lot when I'm out with the fam as well. It's not that I don't wear them when I'm with my family. I do, but a lot of the time in the winter, I'll be wearing a hoodie, but I tend not to wear a hoodie when I'm filming. So you might have seen me out and about wearing a hoodie at Blackpool because it was cold. But if I was on the Magic Podcast or something, I'd be wearing something like this. I just like wearing check shirts. When I'm gigging, I tend to go with either a suit or a smart black shirt, smart black pair of trousers or smart black pair of jeans, and a suit jacket, sometimes a tie. But I tend to fit into the client brief or the client specifications an awful lot of the time. And I think you've got to do that. When you're entering a close-up competition, for example, if marks are given to you for how you dress, I think it's really important that you dress in the manner that you're meant to in order to fit with that. I think that sort of stuff is really important. But yeah, I mean, that's in terms of how you start developing these characteristics. This has become a bit of a character for me on Magic TV, but that was never the intention. I mean, Magic TV was never meant to be any more than me just putting a few videos up online. So maybe I need to think more about that. But in terms of developing the characteristics, I don't really know. I just like wearing checkered shirts. You know, I always have. I know people take the piss. Oh, here's Craig with another checkered shirt. I just like wearing that sort of stuff. I wear what I'm comfortable in. I think that's important. So yeah, I haven't really got more of an answer for that than that, I'm afraid, Chris. Hopefully that helps a bit. Okay, so the next question is the Drunk Magic Ukulele Player. He says, hello, Craig. I have an awful problem of anxiety when things aren't perfect, so I thought you could pass on this to your fellow fans. I've found that learning sleights from books is much better for me, as you tend to adjust your hands to suit yourself compared to in-depth close-up videos, as everyone's hands are different, especially with my gorilla hands. That's really good advice there. Really good advice, yeah. And I love books, I really do. I mean, I love learning from everywhere, but books especially. So that's really good advice. Very, very good advice. Thanks for sharing that, man. Okay, so the next question is from the Card Trick Academy, and Card Trick Academy says, hi, Craig. My question for this week is this. My family is going to be coming over soon, and every time they do, I like to perform a card show. However, I've been getting into mentalism recently. So do you have any tips for doing card magic and mentalism together and making them believe it wasn't just card magic? What do you consider a parlor show? Okay, so I would say that a parlor show is a show where there's like 20 or less people, 25 at the absolute most, and it combines sleight of hand and close-up magic with slightly bigger props, but given sort of in a stand-up way, kind of less intimate, but still more intimate than being on stage. And in terms of how to do card magic and mentalism together, well, I think, first of all, if you're going to do like one mentalism show, but you're going to have card magic in it, I would say, first of all, you dispense with the stuff that is obviously sleight of hand or card trickery. So, for example, stuff like card to pocket, stuff like open travelers, stuff like triumph, all this sort of stuff where magical tricks happen, I would kind of give the wide berth to that, especially as there's millions of tricks that you can do with a pack of cards that are more mentalism flavored. You know, stuff like one ahead routines, out of this world, predictions. There's a million different routines that allow you to be able to use a pack of cards in a more mentalism-y way, if that makes sense. And I would use those along with other mentalism tricks. So I'd have other mentalism tricks, and I'd have card magic that's done in a mentalism way, and I'd kind of fuse those together. That's probably what I'd do. If you want to, I can put a video together at some point in the next few weeks on the best routines that involve mentalism with a pack of cards. Hopefully that might help. If you want me to do that video, let me know in the comments down below. So the next question is from Divi Ryo, and Divi says, do you perform the Chinese rice and water bowls? Interestingly, Ryland's just bought a set of them because we've been, you know, if you've ever seen Ryland perform, he does mainly stage magic, and he's always performing stuff that a kid would do. So we were looking at the Chinese rice bowls and the water bowls and stuff like that. And if you don't know what that routine is, so it's like two bowls and they're empty, and you put them together and you do this and a load of rice appears, and you do this again and a load of rice appears, and you do this and a load of rice appears, and it ends up with water. It's a really cool routine, right? So me and Ryan were thinking about doing that, but with breakfast cereal. And so you kind of got like breakfast cereal. So it's the same sort of thing. So you talk about these, your breakfast bowls. When you have breakfast, this is your breakfast bowl, this is your sister's breakfast bowl. And sometimes you don't have your favorite cereal when you go to breakfast and your mom hasn't bought it. So instead, this is what you do. Then the music starts and he does this and he starts making breakfast cereal appear, which he pours into, you know, a bowl, and then boom, more breakfast cereal, like Cocoa Pops or something like that. Then more breakfast cereal. And then the thing is, well, you know, when you've got the breakfast cereal, what else do you need? You need the milk. And now he makes the milk appear. And I think that'd be a really beautiful moment. And then the other idea that we had is he could then put one of the bowls to one side. He could take the other bowl and do a Benson bowl routine and start, you know, take one of the breakfast cereal and make it into a bigger, like, ball, like a sponge ball. So you get some sponge balls made that look like breakfast cereal, like Crave, but bigger. And then you have that, and then you do a Benson bowl routine, and you finish off with one of those mini packets of cereal underneath, and routine the whole thing together. So the Chinese rice bowls for that came a couple of days ago. But So we'll be working on that soon. He's working on a really big gig at the moment. He's kind of rehearsing the same thing over and over again. So we're having to put all the focus into that. But when that's done, which will be sort of end of the month, beginning of April, we're going to start working on that. So when he gets it into a position where it's in his show, I'll put a video up and show you, Divi. But I've never done it. But we both thought that would be a really cool trick for Ryland's show. Okay, so the next question is from Divi Ryo again. It says, hi, Craig. A few days ago, you made a video on magicians copying others, and in that you mentioned a magician who came to you with a notepad and started taking notes and thought that I can put that and that into my act and didn't come to enjoy the show. I was that magician. Oh, okay, right. Well, thanks for coming to the show. I just wanted to let you know that I think you misunderstood my intention. I didn't want to take every single trick. I asked you about and instantly put them in my act. I just wanted to research them more because they looked interesting. I wasn't taking notes during the show and I'd come to enjoy it. I only wrote the names down because I had such a bad memory. Hey, buddy, it's all good. I absolutely have no problem. That wasn't a rant. That wasn't me like shouting or anything. I'm glad you came to the show. And when I was talking about people taking notes, I wasn't talking about you at all. I was talking about you know, that does happen. I'm not saying that you did that. I totally get where you're coming from, man, and that's absolutely fine. The point of the video was trying to be more unique, and I use that as an example. So sorry if I caused you any offense. That wasn't intended, but thanks for clarifying. I really appreciate it. Okay, so the next question is from Chris Ash, and Chris says, is there a possibility of having Danny Goldsmith as one of the VMC Masterclass lectures? Watch this space. Chris, that's all I'm saying. Watch this space. Okay, so the next question is from Artie Loon, and Artie saying, as a performer, how do you set yourself apart from the next magician? Set aside your reputation among the magic community. Well, yeah, I mean, if you're talking about going out and performing as a magician, the magic community means absolutely nothing. How do you set yourself apart from the next magician? And I think the answer is there's a few different ways, but one way is understanding who your target audience is. Understand who your customer avatar is, and try, wherever possible, to do something that sets you apart. So, for example, the reason back in the day, like about 15 years ago, the reason I put together an illusion act is because I kind of looked around the industry and there were only 2 or 3 illusion acts, and they were all touring holiday parks or kind of doing really big gigs. There were no like jobbing illusion acts. And I was like, well, if I put together an illusion act, it allows me to look bigger than I actually am. And it worked, you know. The website was set up and it was like, hey, we are slightly unusual. We are the Comedy Illusionists. We do a big, large-scale grand illusion show as well as close-up magic. It gave me more credibility, even though I was doing close-up magic like everybody else. Because I was also advertising this big illusion show, it kind of elevated me above anyone else. But, I mean, the other way that you can do it is look at your competition. You'll see a lot of people look exactly the same. They go out in a suit, they do exactly the same tricks, they look exactly the same. So vary it up a bit, change it up. How can you find a niche that you could fit into that nobody else is doing, and you could adapt your persona or your magic into that niche? So, you know, my friend Tom Mullinger, Jester Styles, he has this very gothic show that he goes out and performs as well as his normal show. And he gets booked an awful lot, especially at Halloween, but all times of the year, to go and work those sort of venues, right? I've got another friend who loves cosplaying and has some incredible costumes. And they get booked an awful lot by Comic-Cons and things like that, dressed in character. So it's kind of almost thinking a lot of the time, how do you set yourself apart? Think of a customer avatar. What is your customer avatar? Really spend some time thinking about that, and then have a look for a niche that you could operate in that nobody else is operating in, and how can you adapt who you are and what you do and the way you dress and the way you act and the way you market yourself to fit into that niche and put yourself into a situation where you're different to everyone else. It might be the magic that you do, it might be the way that you communicate, it might be the type of venues you perform in, it might be how you dress, but really kind of just elevate yourself beyond what everyone else is doing. The other way is go and win FISM or something like that. You know, that still holds a lot of credibility outside of magic. You know, going in and saying you're an award-winning magician when you've won nothing probably wouldn't work. But if you can go out and win FISM or something, well, that's going to elevate you to the nth degree. Okay, so the next question is from Jonah Berg, and Jonah says, what's your thoughts on Talk About Tricks by Joshua J. and the Definitive Sankey books? Well, the Definitive Sankey books are some of my favourite books of all time. Love Jay Sankey, love his material, and absolutely love the stuff in the Definitive Sankey books. They're great. As for Talk About Tricks, I've had them for almost I've had them since September now, so I've had them for about 6 months, and I'm probably halfway through book 1 because I'm flicking them, going backwards and forwards. They're amazing. The Talk About Tricks books, I think, are some of the best value in the whole of magic. And the final question today is another one by Jonah Berg, and Jonah Berg says, what's your top 5 favourite mentalists? Well, this is going to be off the top of my head, so it's going to be difficult for me to do this, but I'm going to try my best and see what I can do. Top 5 mentalists. I know that people are going to disagree with me. But this is just my opinion. In 5th place, I'm going to put Rich Relish. I've been looking at some of Rich's stuff recently, and it's just absolutely killer. And some of the ideas he's got is amazing. I interviewed him on the channel recently. Go check him out, because honestly, I think he's blowing up in 2023. I'm very high on Rich Relish. 4th place, I would say, would be Mark Spellman. I think that Mark Spellman is incredible. I know he doesn't just do mentalism, but I think of him as the quintessential mentalist, and I think he's just incredible. Love him to bits, absolutely love him to bits, amazing style. In 3rd place, I would say Phil Smith. I'm just reading Phil's book, and his thoughts on mentalism is just incredible. If you haven't checked out Phil's interview on Magic TV, go check it out. He's brilliant. In 2nd place, I'm going to put a joint second, because it's my list and I can. I'm going to put Luch, and I'm going to put Ken Dine. I'm going to put Luch and I'm going to put Ken Dine. 2 amazing mentalists. Love them both very, very much. Absolutely fantastic. Check out Ken's Ken's Penguin Live. It's one of the best Penguin Lives I've ever seen. And then I'm going to do a joint first as well, because it's my list and I can. I'm going to put Michael Murray, and I'm going to put Pete Turner. I think Pete edges it slightly. I think that Pete is the greatest mentalist in the world today, but I think Michael is either a very close second or equal first with Pete. I think that they are treasures in the industry. So that's my list. And again, people are going to disagree with me, and that's absolutely fine. But that's who I think are probably the best mentalists working today. So there you go, guys. That's another Q&A in the bag. Do me a favour, let me know what you think in the comments down below. Now, you want to see more videos like this, like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below. Don't forget, I'm going to be back again later on this evening with a review show special. I'm going to be looking at Vox by David Jonathan, and you're going to get lots of live performances. So go check that out. And also, finally, and more importantly, go check out the Netrix, www.thenetrix.com. Go see what all the fuss is about. We're getting about 30 people signing up a day at the moment. A week, sorry. It's just incredible. And virtually nobody cancels. So thank you so much for everyone that watches the Netrix and enjoys it. Honestly, it means the world to me. It really does. If you want to go check out the Netrix, it's www.thenetrix.com. And also, my online shop is now open and ready for business. It's www.magictv.org. That's www.magictv.org. Anyway, I'm going to be back again soon. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you again. My name's Craig from Magic TV.